Time for a free agent edition of the Red, Gold, and Bold. Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, Soren Petro with you as we talk about what the Chiefs have been able to get done. They hand out the highest APY, maybe not the highest total dollars, but Kenneth Walker getting 3 for 43.5, got 43.05 million, I think it was, can go to 45 million. Did the Chiefs get it right? What does it take for that to be a success? What are they going to be running to make him a success? A lot to get to on that. Were there other options? Travis Kelce's back, 1 for $12 million, up to 15. Did they get that right? Khyiris Tonga, the newest member of the Chiefs defensive line, 3 for $21 million. What does he bring to the Chiefs? Was he worth this money? Alohi Gilman at safety. They don't keep Bryan Cook. They keep Alohi, or they get Alohi Gilman instead. And Tyquan Thornton is back with the Chiefs. We are talking about what the Chiefs have done here in free agency right now on the Red, Gold, and Bold.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is a columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
All right, thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Let's get into it, boys. The running back position. I love the legal tampering. First of all, can we just take a moment to enjoy the farcity that is legal thing? In the first seconds of the quote unquote legal tampering, they managed to come to a deal right away. I adore this. Deals flying off the board. I mean, let's be honest. The legal tampering starts at the combine. Okay, that's where it begins, and then we start announcing the deals when the quote unquote legal tampering goes. But very early, very quickly. Clearly, this was tops on the Chiefs list. They get Kenneth Walker done on a 3-year deal. Jeff, your reaction to them going this big with this player at the running back position?
I was a bit surprised by them going after the biggest fish in the running back pool. I thought they'd go a little bit cheaper and be a little more realistic about, let's have a combo with a free agent pickup, a mid-level guy, and then get a draft pick. But I believe in the player. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good acquisition. I believe that it's a good example of what I hope happens with this offense, which is that it starts to move forward in terms of the running game. Brett Veach has talked about the need to use the interior offensive line. He talked about the need for explosive runs. Eric Bieniemy's back, new running back coach, and DeMarco Murray, and now you've got the bell of the ball as far as the running back class in the free agency. So I think that, to me, it's a good sign of where this team is going to go, and that as long as they use him the way they should use him, this should be a successful addition.
How about you, Sam? Your thoughts that this is what they jumped out with? This was their big opening salvo to begin with.
Yeah, man, it sort of reminded me of just why they're here. I mean, the Chiefs were backed into a corner at running back, but they backed themselves into a corner at running back when they didn't solve this issue last year with a really deep draft class. And, we talked about it during the Trent McDuffie trade, the difference in the picks this year. I mean, they had a big gap in their picks last year. And I think, we know that there was a run of running backs during that segment. And then suddenly they're without any option that they didn't have on the roster a year earlier. So they had to do something. They had to address this. And it's, of course, really expensive. It's not the positional chart that you want to be paying top of the market. But that's how free agency is. It's not the time where you want to be solving your problems. You'd rather be filling in the cracks in your roster not filling in gigantic holes in your roster. So that's why anytime this happens in free agency and you do have to pay top of market to any position, I think you should ask yourselves, how did it get here? Why are you here? And the reason they're here is because they thought they had good enough backs a year ago, and they didn't.
I think that's a great point. He's the number one running back on PFF's grades this past season, Jeff. Where does he rank? Is this the best running back in football? Is he top 5, top 10? What do the Chiefs just pay for?
Well, I'd love to see how they came up with that stat, because I can think of a number of backs who were better than he was over the course of the year. And look, he's had the danger in this signing, and anybody who's in free agency, there's a risk involved. So people have to understand that this is not a panacea, a complete panacea in any way. But the risk is that you're paying for a guy who had a really good playoff run and had a really good last few games of the season. And there are legitimate questions about him. Why wasn't he used more as a receiver in Seattle? There's real questions about him as a pass blocker. And so it's hard to think that with what he did as a player in Seattle, he's a good player. I don't see him being better than James Cook. I don't see him being better than some other guys who had big years last year at that position. But I do think he's a lot better than what they had here the last 3 or 4 years at running back. And so that's really the positives. He's going to bring explosiveness. He's going to bring speed. And I do think that's an important aspect of what they have to do. This is about the Chiefs. There is, as Sam said, a cleanup on aisle 6 aspect of this that can't be overlooked, but I like the player and what he can bring to the table.
Clean up on aisle 6. I love that. That's fantastic.
It reminds me of whenever in the last year or so, I started going car shopping to get a new car, and I am just the type of guy to where I basically drove my last one until I couldn't drive it anymore. And my fear in test driving all these new cars was they're all going to seem great.
Yeah.
And which one is great?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, Kenneth Walker is going to be a massive improvement on what the Chiefs have. So when you rank him, I think you could naturally watch him run the football after watching Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt a year ago and say, wow, this guy has a ton of speed. And he does. I mean, look, he was the 3rd fastest back in the league on average per carry, according to Next Gen Stats. But I just think what's interesting, and so we got into this a little bit on your radio show a day ago, but they have to ask themselves why he's so explosive. And the talent is part of it, but the scheme's a major part of it too. And they just acquired the talent, and now I think it's on them to adjust the scheme part of it. And what I mean by that is when you look at Kenneth Walker, 78% of his carries came on under center formation. 78%. He had 172 carries on under center. The most for the Chiefs was 72 with Kareem Hunt. And 40% of Kareem Hunt's, when you dig deeper into it, is on 3rd and short, 4th and short, or goal to go. In other words, it's situational that forces the Chiefs to be under center. With Walker, 171 out of his 172 under center were on 1st or 2nd down. They ran that way by preference because they thought that was the best way to run. The Chiefs are running out of shotgun, and they're running out of RPO. And Kareem Hunt and Pacheco last year averaged or combined for 125 carries on RPO formations, the most in the league. Walker had 14 carries on RPO for 25 yards. And to me, it doesn't make sense to give a guy $43 to $45 million and ask him to change the way he found success to fit a system that did not have any success. You've got to change and figure out why he was good and try and make yourselves more like that. So I think the Chiefs solved half of their problem, but whether or not they're really going to commit to the other half still remains to be seen.
This is a pretty good indicator that they are, though, isn't it?
I agree, yeah.
I think they'll have a tough time justifying running out there the same offense. I think, also I did an interview. I've done several. I don't remember which one it was, but somebody asked about, does he fit what the Chiefs do? I said, I don't know because we don't know what it's going to be, but I think he's going to have to fit what they're going to do because what they did sucked. I think that needs to be the reality for everybody is that they realized it didn't work. And I don't think, Matt Nagy was not asked back because they liked what he was doing. Right. I mean, let's be clear. Now, Matt Nagy, I'm sure, would tell you, well, if you'd given me Kenneth Walker, I'd have done it different. but I didn't have Kenneth Walker, right? So, you agree, Jeff, like the system is going to change, right? They're going to have to get under center. They're going to have to adapt more to the style of football that we talked about all year was winning, Rams style, Seahawks style, 49ers style. That we're going to see more of that, right? This is a clear indicator.
Yeah, we have to, but to what extent is the important thing. And is there going to be a transition period in this? Because, again, when you do this, you're asking your quarterback to do things he's never done before. And I know that he's a great talent, but it's different when you've been in shotgun your entire life and you've been
coming off of injury.
Coming off of injury, yeah, and not being able to practice this stuff. He's not going to be on the field for a long time. And so getting used to doing that, it's not as simple as just we're going to run the ball more under center and here we go. It affects the receivers you have. Is Xavier Worthy going to be more effective in this kind of a system? Is Rashee Rice going to be more effective? They're going to have to block more. They're going to have to do more things that they haven't been asked to do, Tyquan Thornton. And so I do think this is a good step in the right direction, and I do believe that they are going to do more things as far as how they design their run game to be more modern. But I certainly think there's going to be some growing pains that come along with this.
Yeah, I mean, if you run the ball the way you did last year, it's not the stats I mentioned showed that he ran out of different formations last year, right? But like his style of running, if you run shotgun with his style of running, he spent more time behind the line of scrimmage than any running back in the league did last year. Like he averages 3.2 seconds just to cross the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
Because he's fast. A lot of times when he crosses the line of scrimmage, he's got a head of steam, and that's why he has so many explosive rushes. You can't get that when you're running out of shotgun and RPO all the time. And look, I still think that, most running backs probably want to run out of center. Isaiah Pacheco had some benefit from running out of RPO. He actually had the fewest negative plays in the league because he's just straight in. He doesn't see holes extremely well. But this isn't that guy. This is someone who likes to wait and see what develops, and that's a lot harder to do with shotgun. And it can't just be, when you wait to see what develops, part of it is your offensive lineman has to know that's the play. It's the only play. There is no secondary option. So that's why I'm really interested to see. And I think it's going to be before the regular season before we see it. I think there's going to be a ton of talk about this in training camp, a ton of talk about this in preseason, but the proof isn't going to happen until we see what they do in the regular season.
Yeah, and also a big part of this too is you mentioned how Seattle used him. The next back in the building has got to be an effective running back because that's also what made him good. They were able to use Zach Charbonnet and help keep him healthy with Charbonnet doing more of the dirty work type stuff. And Charbonnet was probably the better back, to be honest with you, the way it was playing out. Walker had more injuries over the course of his career. Charbonnet was on the field more on passing downs. I think that whoever they draft is got to be somebody who can be counted on for a significant role in this offense, which again speaks to you're spending a lot of money on a guy who's probably not going to be a 20 carry a guy back for you.
Third down. I mean, Kareem Hunt played a higher snap share last year than Kenneth Walker did for the Seahawks. Yep. Like he was on the field for less than half the snaps, and I think what they need is a third down back, and that's what Charbonnet played almost exclusively third downs. When I mentioned that stat I mentioned earlier, I had like 8 emails. They're like, "Hey, I think you have a typo. You said that he had 172 carries under center, and then you said he had 171 on first and second down." No, that is accurate. He only had one of those under center carry on third down at all a year ago, and it's because he doesn't play on third downs. He was not the best receiving back on the roster. He wasn't the short yardage back on the roster. So they still need getting a first and second down back is way more important. But I still think they need to couple him with somebody, to Jeff's point.
I agree with both of you. To hear the people in Seattle talk, though, they will tell you that they think that he showed some ability to catch the ball. He had a bad drop at the Super Bowl, but he showed the ability to catch the ball once Charbonnet went down. But what he never showed was the ability to block, right? And that's one of the things that is, like you'd be like, okay, Brashard Smith, there you go. I figured out what he is. He's the third down back because he can catch the ball. Can he pick up a blitz?
Yeah.
Like if you got a pass catching back that can't block and a running back, a runner that can't block, then what are you going to have? The obvious, this guy comes in, guess what? We're passing and it ain't going to him.
Yep.
Right. Like, I mean, talk about the ultimate tell. I'm with you on the timeshare that needs to occur. with him, just because I don't think you want to ask him to suddenly, just like you don't want to change the scheme on him. I don't think you also want to ask him, okay, now carry more than you've ever carried. So I think the other thing that fantasy nerds will tell you is that he's missed 10 of his 68 possible regular season games. That's not that bad for a running back. 6 of them came in one season, but he does seem to always be on the injury report. Now, again, folks in Seattle said that was better this year than it's been in years past, but they'd be like, is Walker playing? There's the little Swiss flag, the white plus sign saying, okay, we got a medical question this week. Do I start him? Do I not start him? Like that's one of the things that I think will be a frustration if you gave him all this money and each week you're not sure if he's going to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think ideal scenario for the Chiefs backfield is you've solved first and second down. Rashard Smith develops into someone who can play third and long situations because he puts on weight. He just develops into he is a pretty good receiver, but he develops into more awareness of what he's looking at. He becomes a better pass blocker. And then you've got someone with the Kareem Hunt effectiveness on third and short or fourth and short. Like that to me is like ideal scenario. But there's still some ifs that would have to fall into place to reach that ideal scenario.
Yeah, no, I agree. Was there another option, Jeff? Was there another way to do this? Another back, a combination of backs?
Yeah, I mean, I think there were multiple options. I think they could have done a number of things in terms of, again, a more of a mid-tier option type guy. We've talked about Tyler Algier a lot on this podcast. I mean, he signed 2 for $12 million. And so that's not a bad deal if he ends up being a guy who did what he did in Atlanta with Bijan Robinson. You find another guy in the draft to pair with him. That's not a bad way to go. But again, to Sam's point, I think this team, when they sense weaknesses, big holes, they want to take big swings at filling them. And I don't necessarily believe you had to go this route to make it happen. I'm not adverse to the route. I'm not saying it was a bad idea, but I'm saying it's for it to be a huge success, there's some things that have to come along with it.
I floated the idea of Kenneth Gainwell and Tyler Algier.
Yeah, that's not a bad one.
That the two of them combined signed for less. I know the idea of could you get them both, or do they both want to be the lead back? Kenneth Gainwell signing in Tampa, there's plenty of competition in Tampa.
Yeah.
So I would say that if you signed with Tyler Algier in Kansas City for Kenneth Gainwell, it's a better option to come to Kansas City. You also aren't signing for a head coach. I mean, Andy Reid's 68, so any year could be his last year. But Todd Bowles is going into a year, Sam, as you pointed out, a number of times where he's on the hot seat. But that's one of the things that I think would have been interesting. I know everybody focuses on the top two guys, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, but you'd feel a lot better, if you had two backs, if you had some, redundancy plan there that one gets hurt, you've still got the other one. Now it's all on Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, and I think one of the guys in Tampa would be like an ideal fit, but I've been wondering what his cost is going to be, which is Rachaad White. I mean, a center high kid from Kansas City. I kind of always thought that would be a good third down back. He is a good receiver. He played receiver in college as well. So I think he is. That's what kind of surprised me, honestly, about the Tampa sign is I kind of thought, well, you're letting one of these guys go.
Yeah.
Who knows your system, who knows your offense, who's been a pretty good fit there.
And the other part of this too, I know we get to break here, is one last thing is I think the underrated part of this whole conversation is how does it impact 15? And are we talking about an offense that looks more like what Buffalo became when they began to really embrace the idea of James Cook and Ray Davis and Tyler Johnson and not throwing the ball as much, not having Josh Allen be Superman as much. And so I think there is a balancing act here because he's still the best weapon you have on your team is Patrick Mahomes. But do you want an offense that is close to what Buffalo is, and is that acceptable? I think that's a really important thing to discuss.
I think it's a great point. And I think the other thing is we could talk about getting under center and all that. And I asked Mahomes last year at one of the press conferences, listen, are you comfortable? He goes, I just want to win. I just want to win. Okay. Well, he's gonna get that test because it is different from just looking down to catch the ball and having your eyes immediately down the field to turning your back to the defense for more than a second and play actioning. And it requires, it's less of what do I got? What do I got? It's more of the ball's going here.
Yep.
This is where it is. The scheme is going to have to get it. I'm going to play action, and you better sell the play action. His ball fakes are going to have to be good. And I think, his getting guys to jump off sides, the nuances of the game are a strength for him. So I think he will be good at it. But then you're going to whip your head around, and the tight end's going to be leaking off the backside, and that's going to be where you're going with the ball, right? Like, that's it. This is the read. This is where it's going, or it's going to be a couple of reads. I mean, it's a different style of offense that I do agree. I think it's going to take some adjusting, more adjusting than people may realize, probably more adjusting than Patrick Mahomes realizes in how to play this style of football. So I think it's important. All right. We want to get into Travis Kelce's return, along with some of the newer signings. Tyquan Thornton is back as well. We will do that after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Concrete season is in full swing, and asphalt paving is revving up. So right now is the time to get your property on the schedule with Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Whether you need new concrete work, a parking lot repaved, crack filling, seal coating, or full asphalt installation, their experienced crews handle it all right here in Kansas City. Don't wait until the rush hits. Call today for a free bid and secure your spot before the calendar fills up. Get the process started right now at GannAsphalt.com. That's GannAsphalt.com. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. All right, Travis Kelce's back. 1 year, $12 million. Incentives could take it up to $15 million. Sam, let's start with you. Did they get it right on this deal?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all had discussed that the ideal number would be closer to like 7 to 10 range. I mean, look, if team presidents, right? I guess some teams call their GMs team presidents. Let's say if the business side of organizations were bidding out this contract, he'd be making 2x, 3 times as much as what the Chiefs are making. Like there is a business benefit to having Travis Kelce. There's a locker room benefit to having Travis Kelce. As far as his on-field production, I think you liked to be more in like the 8 to 10 million range, but I still come back to the same thing with Travis Kelce is like you've got to transition away from him being your number one option. Whatever he's making, he could be making 25 million, and I'd be saying the same thing. Like to me, that's the bigger story with Kelce coming back is he's not your crutch. He's good to have on your roster. He's better than the average tight end still, but he's not a good number one option anymore. And that's no knock on Travis Kelce. The guy's going to be 37 years old. Him leading a team and catches, yards, and touchdowns at 36 is remarkable, but it's not the ideal way to play offense.
Yeah. How about you? What do you think about the contract, Jeff?
Yeah, and I would add that the NFL probably loves him still being around, especially with his wife being who she is. And so there's a lot of value in that. But, you know, Sam's right. And what I didn't like the deal in concert with the Walker deal. I felt like to put that much money into these two players was not a great indication of what they're trying to do. I think if you go with Walker, you say we're going to be more of a run-oriented team. And to make that happen, I think you have to let go of the past. And as much as I like Travis Kelce, as much as I respect and admire what he's done as a player, and certainly, you know, whatever debate you want to have, he's definitely top 2 tight end of all time now, probably with what he's done in his career. It's still, I think if you're trying to be a leader, you take less money and you let other people step up. I'll be curious to see how he operates this year, because
he did take less. He did. Let's be clear. I mean, his number was higher, but
I guess substantially left. I think you'd be in that 7 to 10 million range. Not like I gotta get, you know. And if he made the comment that this wasn't a tough decision to make, well, then make it back in January. And why you have this whole show about what you're doing? If it felt like there's a little bit of ego, you know, stroking going on here that had to happen, like to hear his name out there, what's going to happen. When he said he's coming back, it was on Good Morning America, you know? And so I'm sure he loves that part of it too. I'm sure his podcast did well with it. But to Sam's point, I think that his value is in being a reliable receiver who can be a security blanket type guy. And ideally, the Rashee Rices of the world, the Xavier Worthies of the world, the Tyquan Thorntons become more impactful in the passing game. Because if that doesn't happen, they're not going to be as good as they can be offensively.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. How about the drama around it? This is the second year in a row where it's, last time it was at the combine. Now it's about a week after the combine, but he tells us all, well, I knew right away. Right. Okay. So then this is just gamesmanship. This is just trying to generate interest. This is trying to generate clicks. This is trying to generate listeners, which, I mean, I get. I do think he's been pretty good at, doing a lot of things while still being pretty focused on football, or is football just a means to continue to shine the lights on his other interests that are more his focus? Sam, what do you see in how he chose to handle the process of announcing he's coming back?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way I read that was he felt like that's where he was headed, but he still felt like he owed it to himself to make sure that wasn't an emotional decision.
Okay.
That it wasn't just because they were 6-11 or because Patrick Mahomes got hurt that he was feeling that way, and that's why he wanted to step away from it. I still think, it depends on what he told the Chiefs. I certainly did not leave the combine feeling like the Chiefs knew for certain what was going to happen, even if I think we all thought that he was more likely going to make the decision that he made now. But I would encourage people to watch the Kelce documentary that more focuses on Jason, because I think one of the reasons I enjoyed that so much, and I watched it twice. I mean, I had my wife watch it, who does not give a crap about football, and she enjoyed it. And one of the reasons is because he's so real about this particular topic. And he gets emotional about the fact that you only have one chance to play this game. When you walk away, you're done. And I think Travis Kelce feels that, to where he thinks, do I really want to be done with? I mean, the kid played sports his whole life, all sorts of sports with hockey and baseball and basketball. I just don't think he's ready to be done with that childlike aspect of it.
I watched that podcast or that documentary, whatever it was, several episodes. It was good. My wife also liked it because my wife does like the Kelce brothers and listens to their podcast and fast forwards through all the football till they get to the life stuff. Right? She is a fan of their lives, their wives, or soon to be wives, and everything going on in their life, but not really the football. The football part's what bores her. But to your point, in that, and it was several years ago before he'd really broached the idea of, am I going to retire, where he said on the podcast, you're going to have to drive me out of this game. I'm going to play as long as
the wheels fall off is what he said.
The wheels fall off. Exactly. Yeah. That was the phrase that he used. And so I think that's really been the essence of who he is.
I agree.
But I do wonder, because we had the question, did it get contentious? Somebody said here, did the negotiations get contentious like the reports made it seem? I mean, I think the money was an important part of the equation, right? Like, I mean, I think the Chiefs would have gladly had him signed for 7. Well, he was taking 7. So, I mean, I think this is where they landed. And if he is to be believed that, I also think, like, as you get older and it starts to be more painful to play the game, the pain can drive you out. The pain can change. That was John Elway. I mean, John Elway said, I just can't physically do it anymore. I want to, but I can't. And so that may change it. But right now, I kind of feel like if he has 905 touchdowns again, let's stop with the games. You're coming back for the right number, and I'm not sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for this.
Yeah, well, and it's also, for a player at his advanced age, it's also important not to just look at the final numbers. And he's played well for a guy his age at that position. But Greg Jennings, the old Packers receiver, made a great comment. He said, players are always the last to know when they're done. And I think what Travis Kelce is doing is he's putting up numbers that make us want to say, look what he's doing at this age. And no one's done this before. But he's also had some plays there where dropped the pass, got intercepted, dropped the pass, got intercepted, returned for almost a touchdown. Like there were some moments where the ball was thrown in his direction and it ended up being a negative. And those begin to happen more often as you get older. And so when you want to play until the wheels fall off, that's a tough realization for a player to see that happening to him. And he's moving in that direction. Those things are going to happen more with each passing season.
I think he has to, because he had more bursts last year. And I think the whole question when any player returns at 30, it's going to be his age 37 season. He'll turn 37 a month into the season. Like, the pertinent question is always, what's he got left? And I think Travis Kelce needs to realize that a large portion of that answer is within his control. That's what the last 2 years should have done, because 2 years ago he was on tour. No qualms with that, but it affected his production on the field. Last year, he decided he was going to get in great shape, and it affected his production on the field. 2 years ago, he had a career low yards after catch, 3.5 yards after catch per reception. Last year, he was at 5.7. He had the third most yards after catch in the entire NFL for tight ends last year, the most ever by a 35-plus tight end. He had more than Kyle Pitts, more than Brock Bowers, almost double the amount of George Kittle. He had as many as Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox combined yards after the catch. And where that shows up is he gets first downs. 2 years ago, he converted his catches into first downs 46% of the time. Last year, he's back up to 60. Like, Travis Kelce needs to realize why he was, and I'm sure he does, but he's got, there was a comment where he was talking about on the Pat McAfee show, and McAfee asked him about training, and he joked that he's had a few too many of his garage beers this offseason. He's got to get in shape. Like, that needs to be a serious thing too, though. And he's getting married this summer. He's got a lot of other stuff to occupy his time. But part of it has to be he's got to get in great shape, because that's the reason he looked better this year than he did the year before.
Yeah, and he needs to catch the ball. I mean, his drops were huge, and his effort after them was awful. And so, he needs to be into the game in addition to what's going on, and not have those critical drops. By the way, this took on a life of its own. Matt said he could have taken 10 and you given us $2 million to have a Red, Gold, and Bold tailgate. I don't know if this is a friend of yours, Sam. Malgorius, Sam's ideal tailgate spread: plain chicken fingers, water, no vegetables. Is that accurate?
Wow.
I mean, I'd eat that. I don't know if it'd be my go-to.
And then Terry says Italian Delight tailgate.
There we go.
We'll get Renee. Pizzas, stromboli, calzones, sandwiches, salads. We'll have the whole thing. Yeah, I like that. That would be $2 million. Renee, let us know what we could get for $2 million at Italian Delight. When you got lunch specials for us starting at under $10, I think $2 million, we're going to do pretty good with the spread. We probably have several years of tailgates on that front for sure. I don't think we'd have to worry too much about that. All right. We want to get into some of the new additions. Another one of the new additions. I guess we got into one of them with Kenneth Gainwell. We'll do that after you hear from our friends at Northland Injury Law. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait. Get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222. Or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Gann Asphalt and Concrete is looking to grow their team. If you have heavy construction foreman experience with heavy equipment, asphalt or concrete labor, or just want to learn a new trade, contact Gann Asphalt and Concrete to join their team today. Top of the market pay, company provided insurance, and paid time off and holiday pay are just a few of the great reasons to join Gann's expanding team. Learn more about this great opportunity with Gann at GannAsphalt.com/careers. That's GannAsphalt.com/careers. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. All right, 6'2", 335 pounds, Khyiris Tonga has been added to the equation for the Chiefs defensive line. 3 years, $21 million, $14 million guaranteed. Jeff, how does this strengthen the Chiefs?
Well, any interior defensive lineman that's coming into the building who's got any kind of experience and potential and talent is going to be a welcome sight. And so this is a guy who signed a very cheap deal for the Patriots last year. It was productive for them. He's got size. I think he's seems to be a better pass rusher than his size would indicate. I think he had a pretty decent amount of pressures for a guy who's playing inside. And he can give Chris Jones a break, and he can also save you the nervousness of having to think about Derek Nottie playing one more season with his team. So I like the body type. I like what he did in New England. I think he'll be a good player for them.
Yeah. What do you think? 1 year, 2.1 million last year with New England, but maybe it all blossomed. He got the last piece of coaching he needed, and he brings that to the Chiefs and has a spectacular 3 years. Sam, what do you see here?
Yeah, this is just like the classic free agent thing where you like the player and think it's a bit rich price, which goes back to what I said earlier, to where you don't really want to be solving issues in free agency. But this is more filling in the cracks. I mean, this is a 3-year, $21 million deal. Like, this isn't going to break your salary cap, even if it costs some money. And they clearly have a need here. Like, you've got to have somebody who eats up space, who can stop the run, because you've got the other defensive tackle who gets out of his gaps on run plays. Like, this is an important position for the Chiefs, and they cycled through a 35-year-old player and brought back Derek Nottie, who I really thought Derek Nottie would be the focus of this podcast, him signing with the Colts today. I thought that would be the lead item over Kenneth Walker, but I finally, 35 minutes into this, we'll mention Derek Nottie's name.
Thank you. It wouldn't be a podcast unless we got Derek Nottie in here. He does, as it was pointed out, plays fullback too. Huh? Got your lead blocker, part of the short yardage equation as well. I guarantee we see him on offense. Anybody want to take the other side of that bet?
Oh, I'm with you on that one.
I mean, Andy Reid, it's been a little while since we've seen some Andy Reid fun. Now, maybe it's because the offense has been such a challenge of late, but they haven't done it. But I do think you'll see him as a lead blocker, and I think he'll be effective. That's a big man coming your way with that style. I like this signing. I think it's important. He did. I think he's 17 pressures. To your point, Jeff, talking about him pressuring. He doesn't look like your real. He doesn't look like a Spagnuolo defensive tackle too. But neither did Turk Wharton, right? And Turk Wharton played well. I mean, I think if you get Turk Wharton like production, or maybe hopefully he becomes your anchor, and the Turk Wharton is Omar Norman Lott, right? He bounces back from injury and he gives you some pressure from the inside. This guy's your run stuffer and provides, a push when you throw on running downs. But I think on the obvious passing downs, he's probably still going to come off the field. But they still probably need one more of these guys, don't they, Sam?
They just need pass rush help anywhere. And, I think we'll have an opportunity more later this week to get into what's left, but there's still a glaring need at pass rush. And at this point, beggars can't be choosers. Wherever it comes from, I think you've got to have somebody who can rush the passer.
Yeah, and you've got to have depth. The big people get tired faster. How about Alohi Gilman? Jeff, you're the old defensive back here. 3 years, 24, almost $25 million for him. A lot less than the 3 for 40 Bryan Cook got. If you look at their PFF grades last year, Bryan Cook was 4, I think, at the safety spot, and I think Gilman was 28. I'm coming off the top of my head here. In there, 38 maybe, somewhere in that range. But if you go back, Gilman was 7 the year before last. If you look at their 3-year average based upon their PFF grades, Gilman actually grades higher over the course of the last 3 years than Bryan Cook. Do they stay the same, get a little worse, get a little better? What do you think it is with Gilman coming on board?
I think Gilman's a more versatile player. I liked him a lot when he was with the Chargers, and he certainly made a big impact on the Ravens when he got traded there last year. And I think the way he seems to be the kind of player who plays well with talented safeties, and he allows other guys to do a lot of stuff. And so with the Chargers, it was Derwin James could do a lot of different things, and he could move around and be a single high top guy or play close to the box. And then with the Ravens, certainly it allowed Kyle Hamilton to be a little more free in what he did. Now, the big question here is Jaden Hicks or whoever else is playing next to him going to benefit from that in the same way, because it's not the same caliber of player. But look, just as with the defensive line, like any experienced body you can put in the secondary right now has got to be a welcome relief for Steve Spagnuolo, because as much as we're talking about some of the high dollar guys on offense, like you look at that depth chart on defense and it's really sparse. so you need to have a guy in the secondary who can be a leader for you. And that's why I like it a lot. I think he's going to be a good player as well.
Do you worry about, him fitting into the system, or no? We've seen Tyrann Mathieu fit right in. Justin Reed fit right in. They know how to identify their guys. They know how to fit the scheme. This should be pretty seamless, Sam.
Well, I do think to Jeff's point, like when you look at where Gilman aligns pre-snap, it's all over the place. So I do think he'll fit the role that the Chiefs need him to fit. But a couple things. One, like you had to have a veteran in that room because right now the guys in your depth chart at safety are Shamari Connor, Chris Rowland-Wallace, and Jaden Hicks, 3 guys on rookie deals. Like Mike Edwards is too old to fill that role anymore. He's too slow to fill that role. Like you had to have a veteran presence. But there is one thing when you look at the numbers that I think really stands out that they're going to miss with Bryan Cook, which he was an exceptional tackler for that position. And Gilman is not. Gilman missed 18 tackles last year alone. Bryan Cook missed 22 tackles in 4 years with the Chiefs. Like that is a big difference. Gilman was 6th in the league in missed tackles. Shamari Connor, who they ended up starting at safety at the end of last year, I think I would consider maybe the March 11th favorite to play there in September, missed even more. He missed 21 tackles. He was 3rd in the league in missed tackles. Like that is a lot. If that winds up being your starting duo, this is a problem we didn't talk about with the Chiefs at all last year because they tackled really well for the last couple of years, and suddenly that could be something we're talking about.
It'll be interesting get him in there with that coaching staff because they do seem to be able to. You mentioned Shamari Connor. He's been the exception. Trent McDuffie was a tackler. LeJerry Sneed was a tackler. They do a really good job of getting their defensive backs to tackle. And so I'm with you, Jeff. I think I think Bryan Cook's – look, either Bryan Cook blossomed and the Bengals got a steal or Bryan Cook just had a career year and he's going to regress back to more of what he was, which was a guy who we went into last year, Jeff, talking about how much he was getting beat down the field. And, so which Bryan Cook steps up will probably go a long way towards determining Alohi Gilman, what the view is of him is going to be how much, does Cook now start bouncing around team to team to team to team, or does he blossom into one of the better safeties? I think that'll be an important part of how we look at this. Tyquan Thornton is back, Jeff. He looked great early on when Rashee Rice wasn't playing. Then they got away from him. I mean, and I was hearing that, there was some wondering if Matt Nagy was going to be the guy wherever he landed. Would he be wanting to take Tyquan Thornton with him? Was that going to be a question here? So it's like, okay, was he the guy that was really pushing for Tyquan Thornton? But Matt Nagy's not around and Tyquan Thornton is. Are you surprised with this?
Well, I'm surprised he's going to have a little more of a market given that I think he showed enough, especially as a downfield threat to where somebody would make a move on him. A lot of teams have money to spend, but, I like him being back. I thought of all the moves they made, this is one of the ones I like the most because to me, he was underutilized. He showed a lot when he was playing. He was caught in a numbers game when they really weren't trying to feed the ball more to Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy. I mean, I think he's as good as Xavier Worthy right now in terms of as far as being able to stretch a defense, track a football. He seems to, when he's going down the field, there seems to be a lot more space when he's running away from people than I've ever seen Xavier Worthy show. I know Worthy's got the higher draft stature, but if he's going to end up being your third guy or at least playing more prominent downs, I'm all for it. I thought that they really didn't know what to do with him last year, and now there's a lot fewer receivers in the room, so he should have more of a chance to showcase himself.
He's been around for a little while, Sam. I mean, I don't know how much more ceiling is left with Tyquan Thornton. He's been in Kansas City for a year and some change. I mean, this isn't just a veteran minimum contract anymore. Like, he needs to produce. Like, what makes this contract a success?
Well, I think if he fills the role that he attempted to fill last year before the Chiefs took him off the field, I mean, he only played more than 1/3 of the snaps one time after week 5 last year. And so for all of his production, like it's got to be put into that perspective is that he didn't get many opportunities. And I think there has to be a clear reason for that. If you say his route tree is limited, like the Chiefs need that specific trait on their roster. It's why they play Xavier Worthy, is because they want him to fulfill that role. And Tyquan Thornton this year fulfilled it better than Xavier Worthy did last year or the year before as a rookie. I mean, he had, I think it was 8 downfield catches last year. I don't think Xavier Worthy's had 8 in his career. And so, to me, this has got to be a situation where best man wins a job. if Xavier Worthy's not producing, you've got to put Tyquan Thornton out there, because even if you think his route tree is limited, at least he can do that specific trait. Because the one thing that Jeff mentioned, I think it's overlooked with Tyquan Thornton, is he tracks the ball well. It's not just that he's fast; he tracks the ball well in the air.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It does, one, keep somebody pushing Xavier Worthy. I think the other thing is, like we talk about, if they're going to run and play action off of it, if they're going to get people, into the box, if they're going to now have heavier boxes, okay, we want a guy like we talked about having deep shots and we took them. Basically, Patrick Mahomes looked out there and went, well, they're covered. I'm just going to throw it over his head, right? But if you want to, if you're going to get people to look into the backfield, then this is a guy who has a chance to burn them, Jeff. I think that's one of the things that the new style of offense, I think, may suit him better than just the, kind of Hail Mary approach to the deep ball. Set up the deep ball by pounding the run and getting the safety out of the way. And Tyquan Thornton proved that not only is he fast, but he could go up and win a jump ball.
Yeah, and it also has more value for the other guys. And to revert back to Kelce real quick here, like he's not going to be able to play the way he's played in the past. In this, if you're talking about doing more play action and turning your back to the defense type of passing game. And so people have to be where they're supposed to be. And having a guy you can rely on going down the field, stretch the field, that earns the respect. I think Tyquan Thornton in a very short amount of time earned a lot of respect from defenses with what he could do going down the field that Xavier Worthy has not earned. Sam mentioned he hasn't had a lot of downfield catches. He has. He just steps out of bounds every time he catches it, so they don't count.
Well, the other thing is, like, Mahomes missed Xavier Worthy open a lot last year. Like, it was not just this complete inability to outrun people. He missed Thornton a couple times, and Thornton still caught it. And I think that when you look at why is the relationship off between Xavier Worthy and Patrick Mahomes on deep passes, you also have to look at the fact that it wasn't necessarily off with Tyquan Thornton. He missed Thornton. The deep pass is the hardest one to complete. It's for obvious reasons. All quarterbacks miss deep throws from time to time, but he misses them less when Tyquan Thornton's on the other end of it. And there's not a ton. These are never going to be huge sample sizes to where you automatically stamp correlation onto it. But I do think you have to at least look at, is there a reason why he's more successful throwing the ball deep to Tyquan Thornton than Xavier Worthy?
Yeah, I think, one, I hope, like you said, it needs to be an open competition. And if he beats out Xavier Worthy, let's go. Like, enough of trying to justify the draft pick if he's the better player. And now he's the more expensive player. So justify this contract by putting him out there. I think that would be an important part of the equation. So far, what they've got going, what are you giving them grade-wise, Jeff? We'll finish with this, what they've been able to bring in. We'll talk about what they've lost, how they're going to have to adapt to that, where they're going next. We'll get into the draft. We'll do all that Friday morning. If you catch the podcast right now, we go live on Friday mornings at 10 a.m., so we'll be doing that then. We're a day late, I probably should have mentioned, because of some other obligations going on, but normally we're 9:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night. But what you get a feel for what grade you give them so far out of the early gates of the free agency?
I give them B-. I think it's a solid effort. I think the Kelce, the money they're paying him brings it down a little bit, but I think they made some solid pickups. Maybe obviously they overpaid for Kenneth Walker, but that's part of the deal. But to me, it's solid. I don't think it's home runish, but I wasn't expecting home runish to begin with.
Sam?
Yeah, all the same thoughts as Jeff, but I guess that would land me probably as a B, just knowing their limitations with the salary cap. But same rationale as Jeff.
I think I'm B-. I think I'm with Jeff. I don't think I'm too far. I agree with everything that's been said. The one I will just go ahead and put out there, I think it's too much to give to one running back. So I don't love that. I think it's too much to Kelce. I think Jeff's point about the style of offense. Can you really get to where you want to go? And are you going to have a tight end that can actually set the corner, get the corner set? Is it going to be Noah Gray and Travis Kelce that you're trying to run stretch plays with on the outside? I thought that's money that could have been spent trying to shore up, get a tight end that can actually block. I'm fine with it. I think it can be the foundation for reloading a team to make it again a threat to win the AFC West and and go deep in the playoffs. But I do question a little bit of the spending. I think it could have been done a little bit different. We'll see. We'll see how they wrap it all up with everything else. Don't forget, you can always support the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast with our great sponsors like Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things concrete, no matter what you need done. They've been solving parking lot problems for more than 30 years in Kansas City. Let Gann Asphalt and Concrete solve your parking lot problems. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. Northland Injury Law for 40 years serving Kansas City, voted KC's #1 accident lawyers. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222 or call 816-400-HURT. And to our friends at Italian Delight, just a few minutes east of Kansas Speedway on State Ave. Lunch deals, as I said, starting at under $10. A Kansas City classic. 50 years ago, first to bring New York-style pizza to Kansas City. It's Italian Delight. You can order online. Just go to ItalianDelightKS.com. For Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you for joining us here at Red Gold.